On a bright, sunny morning, the city of New Haven buzzed with life. People rushed to work, children played in parks, and the smell of fresh coffee filled the air. Among the busy streets was Alex, a talented scientist who loved the Earth and wanted to protect it. With a passion for nature, Alex spent most of their days studying plants and animals. But today, something strange was happening in the sky. As Alex walked to work, a loud noise suddenly shook the ground. Alex looked up and saw dark shadows moving across the bright blue sky. At first, they thought it was just a strange cloud, but then the shadows grew larger. To Alex's horror, they realized that giant alien ships were descending toward the city. Panic spread through the streets as people stopped and stared, their eyes wide with fear. The ships were unlike anything anyone had ever seen. They were massive, shaped like triangles, with shiny, metallic surfaces that glimmered in the sunlight. The ships landed in a huge field near the city, sending waves of dust and debris into the air. Alex's heart raced. What did this mean for Earth? Were these aliens here to conquer or to communicate? As the ships opened, a group of tall, powerful aliens emerged. They had green skin, sharp features, and wore dark armor that shimmered with strange symbols. These were the Zolarians, a race known across the galaxy for their strength and advanced technology. They walked with confidence, their eyes scanning the area as if searching for something or someone. People screamed and ran in every direction, trying to escape the unknown threat. But Alex stood frozen, watching the scene unfold. Deep down, they knew they had to do something. They couldn't let fear control them. Alex felt a strong desire to protect their home and everyone in it. Suddenly, the leader of the Zolarians stepped forward. He had a tall, imposing figure, and his eyes glowed with an eerie light. "People of Earth," he called out in a booming voice, "we have come to take your planet. Surrender now, and we will spare your lives." Alex's heart sank. This was a full-on invasion. They looked around at the chaos, people crying and hiding. They knew they had to act fast. Alex rushed back to their lab, determined to find a way to fight back. Once inside, Alex began working on a plan. They quickly gathered data from previous encounters with alien species and examined Earth's defenses. There had to be something they could use against the Zolarians. Time was running out. The Zolarians were preparing for an all-out attack, and Alex needed to warn others. As Alex worked, they remembered a special device they had been developing for years, a communication tool that could send messages across great distances. With this, they could warn nearby cities and rally support. They quickly activated the device, sending out an urgent message. "Aliens have landed. They plan to invade. We need help." With the message sent, Alex glanced out the window and saw the Zolarians setting up their weapons. They were not just here for a simple takeover. They wanted to destroy anyone who resisted. Determined, Alex grabbed a few supplies and set off to gather a group of brave people who could help them. They knew they needed allies, and quickly. Alex found a small group of scientists, military personnel, and everyday citizens who were willing to fight back. Together, they discussed the best ways to confront the Zolarians. Some suggested attacking directly, while others thought it would be better to focus on defending the city. "Whatever we do, we need to act fast," Alex urged, feeling the weight of responsibility on their shoulders. "If we don't, we might lose everything we hold dear." As the group prepared, the Zolarians began their attack. Energy blasts shot from their ships, striking buildings and sending debris flying. The sky turned dark with smoke, and the ground shook with explosions. People were terrified, running for safety, but Alex and their group stood strong. "Stay focused. We can't let them win," Alex shouted, trying to boost everyone's spirits. They knew fear could be paralyzing, but they had to push through it. The team quickly organized into small groups, planning how to counter the invasion. They decided to set up defenses around key areas of the city, using anything they could find as shields against the alien weapons. Alex worked tirelessly, coordinating efforts and making sure everyone knew their roles. As night fell, the battle began. Solarians poured into the streets, using their advanced weapons to wreak havoc. The brave humans fought back with everything they had, but it was clear the Solarians were powerful foes. In the chaos, Alex spotted a Solarian soldier who seemed different from the rest. While others fought aggressively, this soldier hesitated, watching the humans with a mix of curiosity and confusion. For a brief moment, their eyes locked, and Alex felt an unusual connection. It was as if this soldier was not just a conqueror, but someone caught in a conflict they didn't fully understand. But before Alex could think more about it, the battle intensified. The Solarians pushed forward, determined to claim the city. As Alex shouted orders, they felt a surge of determination. They would fight to protect their home, no matter the cost. The night was filled with noise, explosions, screams, and the cries of both aliens and humans. It was a fight for survival, and Alex knew they had to find a way to turn the tide before it was too late. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and Alex was ready to do whatever it took to save it. A strange meeting. The battle raged on through the night, with flashes of energy beams lighting up the sky. The city was in chaos, and Alex felt a mix of fear and determination. They had fought bravely alongside their allies, but the Solarians were relentless. As the dawn broke, Alex took a moment to catch their breath, glancing around the wreckage of the streets. Buildings lay in ruins, and smoke filled the air. But amid the destruction, Alex knew they had to keep fighting for their home. As Alex regrouped with their team, they noticed something strange. A figure was standing near one of the fallen Solarian ships, seemingly alone. The alien soldier was tall, with green skin and a sharp gaze. Unlike the others, who charged into battle without hesitation, this soldier watched the humans with a curious look. "What's that Solarians doing?" One of Alex's allies whispered, fear in their voice. "I don't know," Alex replied, keeping their voice low. "But we need to be careful." The soldier approached, and Alex's heart raced. This was a risk, but Alex felt a strange pull to the Solarians. Instead of hiding, Alex took a step forward, feeling an odd sense of bravery. "Stop. We don't want to fight," they called out, hoping to get the soldier's attention. The Solarians paused, his eyes widening in surprise. He raised his hands in a gesture of peace, signaling that he did not want to fight either. "You understand me?" the soldier asked in broken English, his voice deep and powerful. "Yes," Alex replied, their heart racing. "We can talk. We don't have to keep fighting." The Solarians lowered his weapon slowly, studying Alex. "I am Kale," he said, his voice steady but cautious. "I was not sent here to talk, but I do not wish to harm you." Alex was taken aback. Why not? They were shocked to hear an alien express concern for a human's safety. "Aren't you here to conquer us?" Kale hesitated, his glowing eyes showing a flicker of doubt. "I do not agree with my leader's orders. This is not why I came to fight." His words were slow, as if he was trying to understand their own feelings. "I wanted to know more about your world." "What do you mean?" Alex asked, intrigued. "You came to destroy us, yet you want to learn about Earth." Kale took a step closer, lowering his voice as if afraid someone might hear. "My people have long believed that we must take over this planet. But now that I am here, I see things differently. Your people fight with such spirit." He looked around at the remnants of the battle, confusion written on his face. "I did not expect this." Alex felt a spark of hope. Maybe Kale was not like the others. "There's more to us than just fighting. We care about our families, our home, and our planet. You can help us if you want." For a moment, Kale seemed to ponder Alex's words. His gaze drifted back to the chaos surrounding them. "I wish to help, but my leaders will not allow it. They see you as weak. Then let us prove them wrong." Alex exclaimed, their voice filled with passion. "We can work together to stop the invasion." If we unite, we can show your people that we are stronger together. Kale nodded slowly, but uncertainty still lingered in his eyes. It is dangerous. If my leaders find out, they will punish me. They are ruthless. I understand, Alex replied, sensing the weight of Cal's decision. But we can change things. If we can find a way to communicate with your people, perhaps we can convince them to stop this war. Cal's expression hardened for a moment. My leader believes that the destruction of Earth will bring us power. But He hesitated, and Alex could see the conflict within him. I want to find a different way. As they spoke, Alex felt a growing connection with Cal. They realized that despite being enemies, they shared a common goal: peace. It was a strange bond, forged in the heat of battle. Suddenly, a loud explosion echoed nearby, breaking their moment. Cal instinctively grabbed Alex, pulling them behind a ruined wall for cover. The loud noise shook the ground, and dust filled the air. We must be careful, Cal urged, his voice urgent. We need to move, Alex said, adrenaline rushing through them. If we stay here, we're in danger. Cal nodded, and together, they carefully made their way through the debris. They moved stealthily, trying to avoid the chaos of the battlefield. The sounds of battle faded behind them as they approached a hidden area, away from the fighting. Once they found a moment of safety, Alex turned to Cal, heart pounding. I know this is crazy, but I believe we can change the course of this war together. Cal looked at Alex, a flicker of hope in his glowing eyes. You are brave for a human, he said, admiration evident in his voice. Maybe we can find a way to stop this together. With a sense of purpose growing between them, they began to discuss their next steps. Alex and Cal knew they were on a dangerous path, but together they could challenge the fate of both their worlds. Their unlikely alliance was just the beginning of a journey that would change everything. Captured and curious, the sun rose higher in the sky, casting light on the battered city of New Haven. Smoke still hung in the air, a reminder of the chaos that had unfolded. Alex and Cal continued to move cautiously through the rubble, their hearts racing as they developed a plan to confront the Solarians. The strange alliance between human and alien felt both thrilling and terrifying. As they reached a quieter area, they stopped to catch their breath. We need to find a way to communicate with your leaders, Alex said, trying to keep their voice steady. If we can show them that humans are not their enemies, maybe they will listen. Cal nodded, but his expression was tense. It will not be easy. My leaders are strong and stubborn. They believe in power, not peace. I understand, Alex replied, determined. But if we show them that fighting will only lead to more destruction, perhaps they will reconsider. Just then, a loud noise shattered their conversation. Suddenly, a group of Zolarians appeared from behind a nearby building. Alex and Cal exchanged worried glances, realizing they had been spotted. Run, Alex shouted, and they took off in opposite directions, trying to escape the alien soldiers. Cal darted into a narrow alley, and Alex followed. They zigzagged through the debris, heart pounding. But the Zolarians were fast. Before they could make it far, a net shot out from a device held by one of the soldiers. The net wrapped around them, trapping them both. Get them, one of the Zolarians shouted, rushing forward. Cal struggled against the net, planning together. The metal walls of the holding cell felt cold and unwelcoming, but Alex and Cal's spirits began to rise as they plotted their escape. They had shared their fears and hopes, and now they were ready to take action. With determination, they discussed their plan. First, we need to get out of here, Alex said, glancing around the cell for any way to escape. Once we're free, we can reach the control room and send a message to your allies. Cal nodded, his mind racing with ideas. I know how to disable the security system. If we can sneak past the guards, we might have a chance. He looked closely at the door, studying the locking mechanism. But we need to time it right. The guards change shifts every 30 minutes. We will have to wait for the right moment. Got it, Alex replied. We should also keep an eye on the guards' routines. If we can find a pattern, we can use it to our advantage. As they waited in the dim light, Alex felt a mixture of excitement and fear. They were working with an alien, someone who had once been their enemy, yet now they were allies. The bond they were forming felt strong, as they shared the same goal of peace. Minutes passed, and they listened carefully for any sounds outside the cell. Finally, they heard footsteps approaching. Kale tensed, ready for action. The door opened, and a Zolarian's guard stepped in, looking bored and uninterested. "Stay back," the guard shouted, raising his weapon. Alex and Kale exchanged glances, knowing this was not the moment they had prepared for. But then something unexpected happened. Kale charged forward, using his strength to tackle the guard before he could react. The guard fell to the ground with a surprised grunt, and Alex rushed to help Kale. They quickly restrained the guard, tying him up with some wires they found nearby. That was fast, Alex said, breathless from the adrenaline. "We can't waste time," Kale replied, his eyes focused. "Let's find that communication device." They carefully stepped out of the cell, glancing down the long corridor. The ship was quiet, but they could hear distant sounds of Zolarians talking. "This way," Kale whispered, leading Alex down the hallway. As they moved, Kale pointed to a door marked with strange symbols. "That is the control room. We need to get inside." But they noticed that the door was secured with a keypad. "We'll need the code," Alex said, looking around for clues. They searched for anything that could help. "What about the guard? Maybe he has the code." Kale nodded. "Good idea. Let's check." They returned to the guard they had restrained, who was still struggling against his bonds. "What's the code to the control room?" Alex demanded, their voice firm. The guard glared at them, refusing to answer. Kale stepped closer, his presence intimidating. "Tell us the code, or we will make your stay here very uncomfortable." Seeing the determination in Kale's eyes, the guard hesitated before finally relenting. "Fine, it's 4782, he spat, clearly annoyed. "Thank you," Alex said sarcastically, feeling a rush of triumph. They turned back to the door and typed in the code. To their relief, the door opened with a soft peep. Inside the control room, lights flashed and screens filled with data. Alex felt a wave of awe wash over them. "This place is amazing," they exclaimed. Kale moved swiftly to a console, tapping buttons and scrolling through screens. "I need to find the communication device," he said, focusing intently. Alex watched as Kale navigated the complex controls, his fingers moving with skill. "Can you send a message to your allies?" Alex asked, their heart racing with hope. "I can," Kale replied, finally locating the device. "But we must be quick. If they find us here, we won't have another chance." Alex nodded, their excitement turning to urgency. "What do you want to say?" Kale thought for a moment, then began typing quickly. "I will tell them that I have found a human who wants peace. We must unite against our leaders to stop the invasion." As he typed, Alex looked at the screens displaying live feeds from different parts of the ship. "We should also find out where the other Zolarians are. We need to know how many are guarding the ship." Kale glanced at the screens. "Good idea. I can access their positions." He worked rapidly, and soon a map of the ship appeared on one of the displays, showing the locations of Zolarians in real time. "Look," Alex said, pointing at the map. "If we can get to the armory, we might be able to arm ourselves before we face the guards." Kale studied the map, nodding in agreement. "That's the best chance we have. We can gather weapons and return to confront my leaders." With the message sent and a plan in place, they felt a surge of confidence. "We can do this," Alex said, adrenaline pumping through their veins. Kale smiled, the tension in his shoulders easing. "Yes, we can. But we must be careful. The guards will be watching. As they prepared to leave the control room, they felt a new sense of purpose. Together, they would fight against the odds. They were no longer just a human and a Zolarian soldier. They were allies, united in their quest for peace. Their journey was just beginning, and they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Discovering the truth. Alex and Kale moved cautiously through the dimly lit corridors of the Zolarian ship. They felt a new sense of determination after their successful escape from the holding cell. The plan to reach the armory and gather weapons seemed more possible with every step they took together. "Keep your eyes open," Kale whispered, glancing around as they walked. "We can't afford to get caught again." Alex nodded, their heart pounding with both excitement and fear. The hum of the ship's machinery surrounded them, making it hard to think clearly. "What if we run into more guards?" Alex asked. "What will we do then?" Kale paused, looking thoughtful. "If we have to fight, we will. But I hope it doesn't come to that. I want to find a way to change their minds without violence." As they approached a corner, they heard voices. Peeking around the edge, they spotted a group of Zolarians gathered in a small room, discussing something animatedly. The door was slightly ajar, and Alex and Kale strained to hear. "They have no idea what they are doing," one of the Zolarians said, frustration evident in his voice. "We are risking everything for a feudal invasion." "Exactly," another added. "This Earth is not worth the lives we are losing. We should turn back before it's too late." Kale exchanged a glance with Alex, both surprised by what they were hearing. "They feel the same way we do," Alex whispered. "Maybe we're not alone in this." Kale nodded, but his expression was still serious. "We must find a way to connect with them. If they share our views, they can help us change the course of this invasion." Once the voices faded, they continued toward the armory, now more determined than ever. They reached a large door labeled Armory and took a moment to catch their breath. "This is it," Kale said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "Let's see what we can find." Alex pressed the button next to the door, and it slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, rows of weapons lined the walls. Strange guns, shields, and armor pieces all gleamed under the bright lights. "Wow, this place is incredible," Alex exclaimed, stepping inside. Kale quickly scanned the room. "We need to be quick," he urged. "Grab what you can." Alex picked up a small blaster, feeling its weight in their hands. "Do you think this will work on them?" they asked, turning it over curiously. Kale grabbed a larger weapon that looked more powerful. "It should. But remember, we're trying to convince them, not just fight." As they filled their arms with weapons, Kale noticed a glowing device on a table in the corner. "What is that?" he asked, pointing. They walked over to examine it. "It looks like some kind of communication device," Alex said, intrigued. "I wonder if it works with the Zolarian systems." Kale picked it up and pressed a few buttons. The device lit up, displaying a series of symbols and images. "This might help us connect with those Zolarians we heard," he said, his excitement growing. "If we can send a message to them, they might join us." "Let's take it with us," Alex said, tucking the device under their arm. "It could be our key to uniting those who want peace." With their arms full of weapons and the communication device, they decided it was time to find a safe place to regroup. "We should head to that area where we heard the other Zolarians talking," Kale suggested. "If we can connect with them, we might have a real chance to change things." They made their way back through the ship, moving carefully to avoid the guards. The halls felt more familiar now, and their confidence grew with each step. Finally, they arrived at the room where they had overheard the Zolarians' discussion. As they entered, Kale called out softly, "We're here to talk." He glanced around, looking for the Zolarians who had shared their doubts about the invasion. "We want to join forces." The Zolarians looked up, surprised but curious. "What are you doing here?" one of them asked, eyeing the weapons they carried. "We believe that this invasion is a mistake," Kale replied. "We heard your conversation, and want to work together to stop it. Another Zolarian stepped forward, skepticism in his eyes. Why should we trust you, a human and a soldier of our enemy? Alex stepped in, holding up the communication device. Because we have a way to reach others who feel the same as you do. We can show you that not all humans are enemies. Together, we can stop this invasion before it's too late. The room fell silent as the Zolarians considered their words. Kale took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their decision. This is not just about us. It's about our people and our future. If we continue this fight, we will lose everything. Finally, one of the Zolarians nodded, his face softening. I have seen the destruction this invasion has caused. I don't want any more lives lost. If you can prove that you are sincere, I will stand with you. Encouraged, Kale smiled. We need to gather more of your allies. If we can show them the truth, we might stand a chance against the leaders who wish to continue this war. With newfound hope, Alex and Kale began to discuss their plan. They would use the communication device to reach out to others on the ship, uniting those who shared their vision of peace. Together, they would challenge the beliefs that had brought them to this point and fight for a better future. As they prepared to spread their message, Alex felt a surge of determination. They were no longer just a human caught in an alien war. They were part of something bigger. Together with Kale and their new allies, they would fight not just for Earth, but for a chance at peace for everyone. The final battle. The time had come. Alex and Kale stood at the front of the gathered Zolarians and a few brave humans who had joined them. They faced the large command room of the Zolarian ship, where the leaders had been planning the invasion. The atmosphere was charged with tension and anticipation. Today, we fight not just for our worlds, Kale said, his voice steady. We fight for the future, for understanding, and for peace. We cannot let anger and fear guide our actions any longer. The crowd nodded in agreement, their faces filled with determination. Alex could feel the energy in the room. This was it, the moment they had prepared for. Are you ready? Alex asked, gripping their weapon tightly. We have one chance to make this work. Kale smiled, his eyes shining with courage. Together, we can do this. Let's show them that we are stronger united. As they moved toward the command center, they could hear the Zolarians inside, still unaware of the brewing conflict. The guards patrolled the hallways, but their numbers were fewer now, thanks to the Zolarians who had joined Alex and Cal's cause. Each step felt like a drumbeat, echoing the rhythm of their hearts. Suddenly, a loud alarm blared through the ship. They know we're coming. A Zolarian shouted, We have to hurry. With renewed urgency, they rushed down the corridor, heading toward the command room. Kale led the way, guiding the group with confidence. Stick together. We're stronger as a team. When they reached the command room door, Kale took a deep breath and pressed the control panel. The doors slid open with a hiss, revealing the leaders of the Zolarians gathered around a large table, maps of Earth, and their invasion plans spread out before them. Stop right there, one of the Zolarian leaders shouted, his eyes narrowing at the sight of the intruders. You dare to interrupt our plans. Kale stepped forward, raising his weapon but keeping it aimed down. We're here to stop this madness. This invasion is wrong, and we have come to fight for peace. The leaders exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of anger and surprise. You are fools, another leader sneered. You think you can change our destiny. We are Zolarians. We do not back down. But you should, Alex shouted, stepping up beside Kale. We have spoken to your people. Many of them want to join us. They do not want this war. If you continue, you will only lead us to destruction. The room buzzed with murmurs as some of the Zolarian soldiers hesitated, unsure of their leaders. The tension in the air thickened as the leaders glared at Alex and Kale. Your words mean nothing to us, the first leader declared, his voice cold and harsh. We will crush you, just like we crush your kind on the battlefield. Before they could react, the leader signaled to the guards, who moved forward with weapons drawn. In a flash, the room erupted into chaos. Kale and Alex raised their weapons, fighting back against the guards. The sound of blasters echoed through the room, and the air was filled with smoke and flashes of light. "Stay together," Kale shouted, aiming carefully at the guards. Alex fired their weapon, hitting one of the soldiers, who fell to the ground. The Zolarians who had joined their cause rushed into the room, fighting alongside them. "Push forward," Alex yelled, feeling the surge of adrenaline. "We can't let them win." As the battle raged on, the Zolarians who supported Alex and Kale began to rally. They fought with fierce determination, realizing that this was their chance to change the fate of their people. The tide of the battle shifted as more Zolarian soldiers began to turn against their leaders. "Now is our chance," Kale shouted, his voice breaking through the noise. "We can end this fight today." Together, they pressed forward, pushing back against the remaining guards. The leaders looked increasingly worried, seeing their soldiers faltering. One of them stepped back, panic in his eyes. "This can't be happening," he shouted, but his words fell flat as more Zolarians turned against him. "Join us," Alex urged the soldiers. "You know this is wrong. We can find a better way." Slowly, some of the guards began to lower their weapons, caught between their loyalty to their leaders and the call for peace. The air was thick with uncertainty, but hope flickered like a flame. In the heat of the battle, Kale locked eyes with the leader who had been the most vocal against them. "You can still stop this," he said, voice steady. "You can choose to join us. We are not your enemies." The leader hesitated, glancing at the soldiers around him. The moment stretched on, filled with tension. Finally, the leader dropped his weapon, looking defeated. "Enough. This war is not worth our lives." Cheers erupted from the Zolarians who had fought alongside Alex and Kale. They had won the battle, not through brute force, but through unity and the shared desire for peace. "We must work together to rebuild and heal," Kale said, turning to address the group. "This is just the beginning." As the dust settled, Alex felt a weight lift from their shoulders. They had fought not just for themselves, but for the future of both worlds. Today, they had taken the first step toward understanding and hope. Together, they would create a new path, one that would lead them to a brighter tomorrow. A new future. In the aftermath of the battle, the once conflicted command room now buzzed with a different kind of energy. The Zolarians who had fought alongside Alex and Kale stood together, united in their decision to forge a new future. The leaders who had once planned the invasion now looked on, subdued and ready to listen. Kale took a deep breath, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. "We did it," he said softly, glancing at Alex, who stood beside him. "We changed their minds." Alex nodded, their hearts swelling with hope. "Now we need to make sure this change lasts. We can't let old ways come back to life." The room was filled with the quiet murmurs of agreement. Zolarians began to gather around Kale and Alex, their faces reflecting a mix of hope and determination. "What do we do next?" one of the soldiers asked, looking eager to help. Kale stepped forward, feeling the weight of leadership settle on his shoulders. "We must establish a council. Humans and Zolarians together. We will discuss our differences and find common ground. This will not be easy, but it is the only way forward." The soldiers nodded, their eyes bright with determination. They could see a future that did not involve war, but instead included collaboration and understanding. One Zolarian soldier raised a hand. "I know many of my people who feel the same way. We want peace. We want to learn from humans." Alex smiled at the soldier, feeling a warm sense of camaraderie. "Then let's start by sharing our stories. We all have experiences that can help us understand one another better." Knowledge is a powerful tool. Over the next few days, the Zolarians and humans worked tirelessly to create the foundation for a new alliance. The council meetings were held in the same command room where the invasion plans had once been made. Now, it was filled with laughter, debate, and genuine interest in each other's cultures. Alex watched as Kale facilitated discussions, bringing everyone together. The room was alive with ideas. They talked about technology, food, art, and the many ways their worlds differed yet complemented one another. Each voice was heard, and everyone had a chance to share. As the days turned into weeks, the council gained momentum. Humans and Zolarians learned to trust one another, creating projects that combined their unique skills. Together, they worked on advancements in technology, agriculture, and medicine, blending their knowledge to improve both worlds. One evening, as the sun set over the horizon, casting a golden glow through the council room, Alex and Kale stood together outside, looking at the stars. "Can you believe this is happening?" Alex asked, feeling a sense of awe. Kale smiled, his expression filled with warmth. "I always hoped it could be this way. We just needed to take the first step." "Do you think the rest of the Zolarian leaders will fully accept this change?" Alex asked, looking worried. Kale nodded confidently. "They will. We've shown them that strength lies in unity, not division. It will take time, but our success here will inspire them." The night air was cool, and the stars sparkled above like tiny promises of hope. Together, they had forged something beautiful from the ashes of war. As time passed, the alliance grew stronger. Zolarians began to visit Earth, and humans traveled to Zolar. They shared their cultures, learned from one another, and built friendships that transcended their differences. Markets filled with goods from both worlds flourished, creating new economic opportunities. One day, during a council meeting, a Zolarian woman named Mira stood up. "I want to suggest a festival," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "A celebration of our unity. We can share our traditions, foods, and art. It will show everyone that we are together now." The council erupted in applause, and soon the idea spread like wildfire. Alex and Kale looked at each other, their hearts racing with anticipation. This festival would be a milestone in their journey toward peace. Weeks of planning followed. Both humans and Zolarians poured their energy into creating the festival. They decorated the streets with colorful banners and set up stalls filled with delicious foods from both planets. Music echoed through the air as artists prepared performances, blending their styles to create something unique. The day of the festival arrived, and the atmosphere was electric. Zolarians and humans gathered, excited and nervous, unsure of how this celebration would unfold. But as the sun rose, casting a warm glow over the festival grounds, smiles spread across faces, and laughter filled the air. As the opening ceremony began, Kale stood on a stage with Alex by his side. "Today, we celebrate not just our differences, but our unity," Kale announced, his voice ringing clear. "Together, we will build a future where fear no longer divides us." Cheers erupted from the crowd, and Alex felt tears of joy welling in their eyes. This was the moment they had all fought for, a new beginning. As the day went on, humans and Zolarians danced together, shared stories, and enjoyed delicious food. They'd forged friendships that would last a lifetime, each person a thread woven into the fabric of a brighter future. Underneath the stars that night, Alex and Kale stood together, watching as their worlds danced and celebrated side by side. They had turned a once divided existence into a thriving partnership, proving that love and understanding could conquer even the deepest of divides. With hope in their hearts and the stars above guiding them, they knew this was just the beginning of a beautiful journey together.